Hey everyone, this is Kelsey from the Arcane Library, and today I want to give you just a few quick game mastering tips and tricks for running Shadowdark RPG to kind of help you adjust to some of the new rules in the game and just give you some advice from experience about how to handle some of the stuff that is a little bit unusual or unique to the game. First thing is first, the game is played in real time with torch timers, so anytime the characters are in a dark setting where they need to be able to see, they're going to need to light a torch, and that's going to last an hour of real time. This is a neat mechanic for helping spur the players into action because you can always be reminding them, hey, time's running out, pointing to the torch timer, and just kind of keeping it present and front and center. It's a resource that's going to feel like it's draining slowly at first to the characters until they're down to their last couple torches, and then it's going to feel serious. So always be kind of reminding them about how time is passing, especially if they're stuck trying to make a decision or getting stuck in the rule book trying to look up a rule. Just, keep the game moving and use that as your lever. And my best advice to you is to only use one torch timer, no matter how many light sources are lit. It's just really complicated to have more than one timer active at once. And so I think the characters, should be given the decision when they light a new torch timer, it's either a new torch, a new light source. It can ride along on the current timer, or they can extinguish and relight their new sources and start a new torch timer. And this will keep things simple, and it'll have the characters treating torches as more of a resource where they have to decide, do I want to be able to see farther and have multiple torches burning at once, or do we want to conserve our resources, have a more limited area, and make sure that we're making each torch last for as long as we can maximally allow. The next thing is the fact that the game is played in always-on initiative. Now, I think a lot of game masters actually subtly move towards this paradigm, as they become more experienced, where they're checking in with each player periodically and consistently to get actions from them. And this is a way to make sure that the more quiet players get spotlight and to make sure we're moving away from the characters that tend to take a lot of the spotlight so that the, action is a little bit more fairly distributed. So there are a few things to bear in mind here. Number one, this is not meant to be rigid or limiting. A lot of times initiative is going to be a little bit loose. It's not going to be you calling turns all the time, strictly and rigidly. It's meant to kind of just help you track the passage of rounds and make sure each person gets to take a turn, and then the GM takes a turn, and that it's kind of alternating back and forth. And then again, also with social encounters, again, give each character's turn a room to breathe and encourage them in all cases to be talking to each other. Just because you're in initiative order doesn't mean you have to have the players be isolated from each other. They can still talk and plan, and they should. So you want to remind them to do that. And when they're talking to NPCs, give each character their chance to have an exchange and a dialogue and let things be organic, but just make sure that you're touching base with each player and that you're trying to make sure everybody gets a chance to do or say something before you come back to you as the GM. Keep it as what you come back to, as your framework, and kind of always guide back towards the initiative order, and then you'll be doing things perfectly right, and there's no really strictly wrong way to do that. You have to just kind of feel it out a little bit. What you'll want to do is make strong use of the consolidation rules during exploration. And that is where the characters are sort of allowed to come together and then move forward in the initiative order, almost as if no time had passed. But this is a way to prevent the moments that could drag while in initiative order from, becoming boring. Like if the characters are about to spend 2 full rounds just moving down a hallway, you can just consolidate them forward twice, and then that saves a ton of time. And this is something that you'll just have to feel out. So when you can see that the characters are all kind of starting to do the same action, just consolidate them together and pick up right in the same spot in the initiative order. And that will keep things moving along, and it will still help you track rounds, but it will just make things move a little bit faster and not get rigid. So the next thing is distances. They're abstracted. So you've got close, which is within 5 feet, near, which is in 30 feet roughly, and then far, which is kind of within sight and an encounter. And the point is just to make measurement faster. Measuring every movement, every attack range, every spell range, that really slows the game down. And to be honest, you can generally tell at a glance, like, is that too far for a fireball or not? Is that too far to throw your dagger or not? Could you really move across the room in one turn and still take an action? Does that seem reasonable? So the distances are kind of specified in the times that it matters, because there will be times that you do actually want to measure distances. It could come up where, a matter of a few feet really does make it exciting to measure, but only revert to measuring when it's exciting to do so. As a default, it just slows the game down, and it's really not that fun to have to measure every single thing. So eyeball it and do what makes sense. And, you know, as long as you're keeping it consistent between the players and the enemies, then you're totally doing fine. Another thing about this game that's different is no opportunity attacks. It means that tactics are a little more freeform, but if characters still want to protect vulnerable characters, they just have to surround those characters because enemies can't really move through each other. So, you know, even though, you know, a fighter can't run out into a group of goblins now and then punish any goblin that tries to run past, which in my opinion creates a lot of extra actions and slowness and really slows down the action economy. Now you can just surround the wizard and keep them safe. Or you can do the classic conga line of death where you fight in a hallway like Thermopylae style, and you have the fighters up front and the weaker ranks at back, and then the enemies can't really get through since it's so difficult to move through foes. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. So this just takes a little bit of a change of tactics, but it speeds the game up enormously, and it also makes big open battles much more exciting and swashbuckling and freeform. The last thing is XP, so awarding XP. There are 4 categories of experience points, and there's no need to really worry too much about whether you're getting this right. I would almost always just give out 1 XP for a good treasure. 0 XP for something unexciting, 1 for something that was worth going after, and that's the normal category of treasure, 1 XP. Going into a dungeon and finding something cool where you're like, I'm glad I did this, that's a 1 XP treasure. Something really rare and unique, really incredible is a fabulous treasure, which is worth 3 XP. And there might be entire dungeons that don't have that, and that's okay, but maybe 1 or 2 in a big dungeon is great. But the highest category, legendary, is really only something that you should be awarding as like a quest item, because legendary items are worth 10 XP, which is a lot. And they're also very valuable, which means that they can be converted into coin, and then the characters can use that to carouse and gain even more experience points. So I would only give out a legendary item XP award for something the characters actively pursued that is a thing of note. And, very few of those throughout the campaign or throughout the entire, growth of a character. So you're not getting a lot of legendary items, you're getting a few fabulous items and mostly just normal items, and know that the characters will still be gaining XP through other means, through carousing, and it's going to add up fast, so you don't have to worry too much. Just, keep that is it something ordinary and good? Awesome, that's 1 XP. Is it something incredible and kind of rare? 3 XP. Is it something legendary and quest-worthy? Then 10 XP. And that's it. That's all my earned experience from running hundreds of hours of Shadowdark playtests and, spending years testing things out and throwing things at the wall. So I hope that advice is useful to you, and I hope that you have a lot of fun running the game. If you have any questions, comments, or tips of your own, just leave them in the comments below, and they're fun to discuss. And, anything that makes running the game easier and more fun is always worth talking about. So thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys soon.